Hey there, friends, and welcome back to another 3-Minute Thoughts. My name is Derek, and in the next 3 minutes, we're going to take an honest look at another chapter in the New Testament. We're going to lose all the churchy jargon. We're going to not have a pressure to believe what's written, just a simple place to understand what's been written in front of us. Today's chapter is Matthew chapter 5, and this is actually a pretty familiar chapter for most people. This is where Jesus really begins his teaching ministry. It's often called the Sermon on the Mount, but that makes it sound more religious than it actually is. What Jesus is actually doing here is describing a completely different vision of the good life, air quotes there. He starts with what's called the Beatitudes, or the blessed bees. These are statements that sound kind of upside down when you look at them from our cultural context. Things like, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are the meek, blessed are those who mourn. In other words, Jesus doesn't call the powerful, nor does he call the impressive the blessed ones. He names the people who usually feel overlooked, exhausted, on the outside, or even empty. That alone is worth sitting with for just a minute. Then Jesus tells his listeners they're salt and light. Not someday, not after they improve, but rather right now. Salt preserves, light reveals. Both quietly change their environment just by being present. He's not saying that he needs us to come in and yell in crowded stadiums or use bullhorns on street corners, but rather the way we live our life should change the environment around us. Then Jesus raises the stakes. He says he hasn't come to cancel the law, but rather to fulfill it. And instead of lowering expectations, he actually deepens them. He moves from external behaviors to internal life. Anger becomes as serious as violence, lust as serious as adultery, and words matter, intentions matter, integrity matters just as much as the actions of our hands. At first glance, this sounds kind of impossible, and honestly, that's probably the point. Jesus is not offering a checklist. He's exposing how shallow our usual definitions of good enough really are. And then there's the line that stops people cold. Love your enemies. He doesn't say tolerate them or defeat them or beat them at their own game. He says to love them, which then raises a pretty fair question. Why would anyone want to live this way? The answer? Because Jesus isn't just giving commands. He's revealing what life looks like when it's shaped by trust instead of fear, generosity instead of scarcity, reconciliation instead of retaliation. Matthew 5 isn't about moral perfection. It's about a transformed heart that leads to a transformed way of living. And here's the real life connector for most of us. We're chasing happiness by trying to protect ourselves, our image, our comfort, our sense of control. But Jesus suggests that real flourishing might actually begin when we loosen our grip. Be well, friends.